Hello, and welcome to the C3 Method podcast with your host, Robert Polenic. Our goal is to educate you on everything health and fitness related with a clear, concise, and customized approach. We want you to know what you need to know and how to apply it in a way that fits you best. Today's podcast number 2267, and the title is The Dark Side of GLP-1 Agonists. GLP-1 agonists you might know as semaglutide, Ozempic, Mounjaro, those types of weight loss drugs. They are becoming more and more popular, so more and more people are being kind of interested in them, probably asking to be prescribed those, and then more doctors are prescribing those weight loss drugs. It's unfortunate in the sense that the people given the ability to prescribe the drug don't have adequate nutrition knowledge. And often what I'm finding is that people could be addressing their weight issues via nutrition and lifestyle change without the need of the drug. Now, are people going to be doing that? Chances are that they already knew that was an option. They didn't do it, so they just want the drug. But the drug doesn't replace what you need to change in your lifestyle. I want to talk a little bit today about a specific new client, what they were facing and how they were given semaglutide, but yet it wasn't what was actually going to address their issue. It actually wasn't addressing their issue. So I want to talk about what we're going to do to help them, and then the downsides of what I see when people take GLP-1 drugs, the negative side effects that they are seeing that are more acute and maybe they would notice from day to day, and then the underlying effects that they aren't noticing for months later. So let's look through this client example. They were overweight. They have some blood marker issues like pre-diabetic issues, and they're just not feeling themselves. They used to be a former athlete. They're overweight. They don't feel good in their skin. They don't then have the confidence to get back into the gym and back to exercising because everything feels awful. They are also having that lack of confidence, that lack of proactive aggression that they would normally have in life. That is not showing up anymore, and is not showing up in other areas. So really the entire quality of their life is going down because they're gaining weight. They're unhappy with that, and it's just kind of wreaking havoc. So they reached out and they asked what they could do about it. Now, they were prescribed GLP-1 drug, but they said that the drug doesn't work for them, which was interesting because, drugs are going to have their impact. So if it's not working, then clearly there's something else that might be getting in the way. So I started to ask questions about what their current routine is. And essentially what happens is they end up overeating at night because they're undereating during the day. And in part, the GLP-1 is causing that problem, and it's exacerbating the issue. So what we're going to work on is changing their current routine to where they actually won't need the drug at all, and they'll be able to avoid all the negative effects. Their current routine, though, is that they wake up and they're active for about 2 hours before they have anything to eat. And their breakfast is a protein powder mixed with coffee. And sometimes that's it. That'll be their breakfast. And then they go all the way till lunch, which is around midday. So they'll be up for, 6, maybe 7 hours before they actually have real food. Now, sometimes they do have a little bit extra for breakfast. They said sometimes they'll make some foods for their kids. The kids don't eat everything, so they have the coffee and then the rest of the kids' food. And if they do have the extra food at breakfast, they said they tend to skip lunch because they're just not hungry for it. They don't notice that they need it. So they'll have breakfast and not lunch, or they don't have breakfast, and then if they do have lunch, it's usually leftovers from the dinner the night before, or maybe some snacky food crap that they have around for the kids, which is bummer that they buy crap for their kids, which then means that they have crap in the house to eat as well. But they said sometimes they'll eat something for dinner that maybe was like a protein, which would be a great idea, some kind of cooked meat, or they'll just grab a bag of potato chips or snack crackers or cookies or something. So the daytime is pretty much a hodgepodge mess of randomness. Then at dinner, they do have a family dinner. They make sure that they cook some type of protein source, which is typically a meat. Then they have some type of energy source, which is typically a carb. And that could be pasta, potatoes, rice. Maybe they have a taco night, so they're having tortilla wraps. But there's usually something they know is a protein, something they know is an energy source, which is typically carbohydrates. And then they try to add vegetables for the vitamins and minerals and all the health benefits that we believe vegetables have. Then they get in trouble. So they've gotten through the day, everybody's sitting down, everybody's semi-relaxed, and now all of a sudden their body says, holy crap, I am way underfed, we need some food. So they start getting really intense cravings at night, and that leads to them grazing on random foods. They said they would feel bad if they were to eat a whole meal or like maybe a tub of ice cream. So they tend to grab a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. And it usually probably adds up to more calories than if they were just to have, like a second dinner. And they believe that that is what's holding them back. They said that they're overeating at night. And that is why they believe they're overweight. And that is why they believe that they needed the GLP-1 drug. So they were prescribed the GLP-1 drug to help reduce their daily hunger. This is a huge red flag because the hunger they're feeling at night is actually just to make up for the fact that they're not eating during the day. But taking the GLP-1 exacerbates the issue that they're not eating during the day. It makes them even less likely to eat during the day. So it's actually making the condition worse. It was making it so much worse that the nighttime cravings were getting so much more intense that they then were prescribed phentermine, which is an appetite suppressant. But phentermine in its typical state is kind of a longer lasting effect. And then that was messing up their sleep. So then they were given a short version of phentermine, which has a really fancy name. It's the same intensity of appetite suppressant, but it's a shorter duration. So they would take that in the afternoon. It would kind of kick in through the evening, and then they would still be able to get to bed. But what happens is they're under eating during the day due to the GLP-1. Then they're given this short-acting drug that's hopefully, the intent was, not hopefully in a good way, by the way, hopefully in an ironically really horrible way. The doctor's hope and this client's hope was that the short-acting phentermine would then make sure that they underate at night as well. So they were under-eating during the day, and then the drug they thought the extra drug, the drug on the drug, would help them also undereat at night. The problem is that the severity of the undereating that they're trying to create is astronomically too low. It is way below what a healthy baseline is for just running your organs. I've talked about this in past podcasts, but there's a concept called BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. And that is how many calories your body burns by simply being alive. Just to function, like run the organs and have normal function. So if you were lay in bed, eyes closed, do nothing, we would at least have an X number of calories that we need per day. And that X number of calories is your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. With the use of the GLP-1, with the intended use of the short-acting phentermine, they were over half off, so eating less than half of the BMR. So they're essentially, the doctor and the client were trying to eat half of what the organs need to stay alive, and that's only maybe 60-70% of what you need to cover your daily activity, given the fact that you're not going to lay in bed with your eyes closed all day. So they were eating way less than 50% of the total calories they needed per day. And this extreme of a deficit was causing these urges, these natural urges that the body would have, because the body is recognizing, I am so underfueled that I cannot afford to give up body fat. Because if I give up all of my body fat, I then don't have any energy protection to run my organs. So if your body gives up all of your body fat and you have 0% body fat, and then you don't eat, you miss a meal, the organs start to shut down. The body actually starts to eat the tissue of the organs. It'll eat muscle tissue. It'll break down a whole bunch of things that we do not want it to break down. And you're essentially going to be killing yourself. You're starving yourself to death. Now that's an extreme wording, but that is what's happening if you're eating that much under your BMR. Your body recognizes that would happen, so it starts to fight against that process. It downregulates absolutely everything. How many calories it allocates to growing your hair, your skin, your nails. It'll also give you less urges to move. There's a ton of studies that have shown that we typically have a normal amount of activeness per person. So every individual is a little bit different. But some people have they'll shake their leg during the day. They'll move around a little bit more during the day. Maybe they'll get up and walk to go do this. They'll just have a normal amount of physical activity that they do in a day. When you put that person on a caloric deficit, if it's significant enough and long enough duration, their daily activities, those small little non-essential daily activities, starts to reduce. All of a sudden, they don't shake their leg. All of a sudden, they don't get up to get a drink of water. They're just like, I'm okay. I don't need the water. I'll just be thirsty. Our body naturally starts to down-regulate anything and everything that requires calories that isn't 100% essential to stay alive. Her body was doing that, and it felt like it was doing that to the maximal capacity that it could. So therefore, the cravings that her body was sending to say, hey, we need nutritional help. We need you to eat some food. Those cravings were getting so intense that they were overriding the phentermine, which is pretty severe. I mean, you're taking a drug that's supposed to shut off appetite, and your body said, screw you. I don't care if this drug's in my presence. I still want food. So the degree of being underfed nutritionally was so significant that the body's desire to eat food for survival was overriding the GLP-1 and was overriding the phentermine. This would mean that her doses of those drugs would have to continue to go up in order to block that overriding effect. Thank goodness, though, I was able to meet with this client before the doctor started doing that. So my message to the doctor is, doctors, if they aren't familiar with nutrition, they've not had extensive nutrition education, which most doctors have not, I would recommend, and whatever my recommendation means, probably not much to doctors, but I do actually counsel doctors on GLP-1 use. So I do have doctors who do seek me out, and we talk on a regular basis. But what I would recommend is that they go get a degree or some type of certification in nutrition knowledge. So you can get how personal trainers would get a nutrition education degree. It's not like you're going back to school for 2 to 4 years when doctors have already been in school for decades. It's just an extra program you would do to help solidify your nutrition-based knowledge. And the reason why is, if this doctor had nutrition knowledge, they would have asked the client how they ate, and they would have realized, oh wow, it's not that you're overeating at night. That's not the problem. The problem is that we're undereating and we're inconsistently eating as a whole. So the food intake is sometimes where it should be, often not enough. Maybe every once in a while they go on a family event or a vacation or a weekend trip and they overeat. It's kind of just all over the map. There's not enough consistency in order for the body to feel protected, safe, and not feel the need to store body fat when it has momentary excesses. So the doctor would have recommended that they make nutritional changes first. Now, most doctors are going to say that they would recommend that, and they do recommend that, but the people don't do it, so therefore they give them the GLP-1 drug. I understand the position that doctors are in the sense that if the person was given the opportunity and the knowledge on how to make nutrition-based changes first, like lifestyle-based changes, and they didn't take that, but yet they're still asking for help, maybe the GLP-1 on a small dose can help manage some of the impact. The downside is, in a case like this, where the person is actually under-eating, and that's causing the problem. So then when you give them a GLP-1, that slows digestion and causes them to undereat even more, and actually makes the problem worse. So the doctors that I counsel, I recommend that they have some kind of nutritionist on staff or a nutritionist as a referral. That's why I work with them, because I am their referral. So they will send clients to me to talk to about lifestyle changes first. And then we have a protocol that we have them go through to where they show some effort towards lifestyle change before they can then be prescribed the GLP-1. And this is what those doctors chose to do because they believe it's a more ethical use of GLP-1. Does it limit them from being able to write as many scripts as possible and maybe make some money? And who knows? I don't know, all that side of the stuff. But these doctors that I work with, that I am their nutritional consult, this is our approach, is let's teach the person some baseline lifestyle factors. Let's see them put some effort into that. And then if the GLP-1 would be helpful, we would prescribe it. But we're definitely not going to prescribe it if we actually think it's going to exacerbate the issues that the person's actually having. So that would be my recommendation to the doctor, is send people to a nutritionist before you prescribe the GLP-1. My recommendation to the client, what we're going to do is they don't need to eat less, they need to eat better. And what I mean by that is we need to have more consistency with our food intake. If we're more consistent, then the body has less of a desire to protect itself against inconsistency. So when the body is asked to do a whole lot of activity during the day with no fuel to do it, it's then at night going to say, hey, I need that energy replaced. I need care. I need repair. I need to recover. I need food. So it's going to send the signals to eat food. And when we're busy during the day, we tend not to pay attention to those signals as much. But when we're done at night and we're kind of sitting around starting to relax, all of a sudden those signals, they're a little bit louder. And they start to catch our attention. So people start to give into those signals at night. Whereas if we ate more during the day, if we fueled our body for the activities we asked it to do, the signals at night wouldn't be there because the body doesn't feel the need to replace anything, repair. It's been able to do repairs throughout the day. It's been able to kind of maintain with the usage of the body. So the desire to eat at night is, if anything, just habitual, and that can be overcome with some other strategies. But that would be our goal, is eat more when you move more, eat less when you move less. This is going to help us then not need the GLP-1 and certainly not need the phentermine. So we can actually come off the medications. So she'll be able to eat more at breakfast, eat more at lunch. She won't have the GLP-1 in her system, which is fighting against that, causing her hunger to be so low that she doesn't want to eat. So we're going to eat more at breakfast, going to eat more at lunch. Then we're going to have our dinner, and she really won't have the desire to eat anything at night. And we don't need the phentermine, we don't need the GLP-1, save some money on those, and then also just save putting some chemical into our system that our body really actually didn't need. So that's going to be the changes that we make. Now, it's important for us to get off of GLP-1s if we don't need them, because there are downsides. There's the dark sides of GLP-1s. And not a complete list, but a pretty good summary list, is one major impact of GLP-1 is often dehydration. People tend to eat less, which then usually leads to them consuming less fluid throughout the day. We do get hydration through our foods to some degree. And then typically when we eat, we tend to drink more because it's a natural urge to help digestion. And whenever we have normal intake, normal calorie intake, we have more movement throughout the day. We have more energy. Whenever you're taking a GLP-1 and your calories are significantly reduced, that body's natural desire to move and do the extra little calorie burns goes down. The person's daily movement goes down, and then often their hydration goes down. And when our hydration goes down, we have low energy, our mood goes to crap, our muscles get really tight, so it kind of impacts feeling stiff and not very mobile, and then we have poor digestion. So the food that we do eat, we end up having kind of gassiness, bloating, constipation. It's not uncommon now for people on GLP-1s with severe caloric restrictions to actually have bowel movement issues, where they'll have compacted food in their system, and they're having to go to hospitals and get enemas and get some other treatments to deal with that. They're basically having food blockage because the food just isn't moving, because they're in part dehydrated, and in part because they're not eating very often, they're not having a lot of fiber, things aren't moving through the system, and it just kind of feels stuck. So that is certainly something that is happening that most people don't hear about. We also have muscle loss because if we're eating less food, we're likely eating less protein. And protein is what helps kind of maintain the muscle tissue that we have. As we have muscle loss, we will have loss of mobility, and everything we do kind of feels a little bit harder to do, so we end up doing less and less and less over time. We're going to have bone density loss, significant bone density loss. Unfortunately, that doesn't show up until much later in life, so people don't even realize that that's actually happening to a much faster rate when you're on a GLP-1. We have energy and performance loss. So, for example, this client that I had, she used to be into CrossFit, used to be athletic, and now she's just not eating anything, so she feels like crap. She doesn't want to exercise. So she just doesn't have the energy to exercise. That crushes her motivation. Then that makes her feel bad about herself because, man, I used to be this person who was fit, and now I don't even want to move. I'm a piece of crap. I hate myself. All these crazy negative emotions start to come out, and that is in part related to the GLP-1. And when we move less, when we have less energy, less performance capacity, we actually end up increasing the rate of muscle loss, strength loss, mobility loss, and all of our physical health markers tend to go down even faster. We also have a negative hormone impact. Your growth hormone, your natural production of growth hormone will go down. Your balance of estrogen, testosterone, and other hormones will go down. You'll start to feel like crap. Your joints will hurt. You'll feel moody. You'll cry at like sappy commercials and sappy movies. Like everything just goes bad. It's just everything starts running downhill. And then also our body's like metabolism, the rate in which it processes food, the rate in which it does activities starts to downregulate as well. And those, one of the worst issues of those is that then later in life, you're in a worse off position in order to be able to maintain and or build muscle and fight off fat gain. So your body is now running less optimally, which means the same amount of food before that you used to be able to maintain your weight will now actually cause fat storage, and you won't be able to burn that food off. So over time, your capacity of how much you can eat and maintain your weight goes down, 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 down. So there are a lot of negative effects of GLP-1s. A lot. Now, for people who have clinical issues related to blood marker health and obesity, those negative impacts are worth the cost to get the fat off so that way they don't die quicker, related to blood marker health. But when you're looking at somebody who's just 20, 30 pounds overweight, their blood markers are pretty much okay, they're just unhappy with the way they look, this list of negatives starts to actually kind of outweigh just a purely maybe aesthetic benefit. And especially considering that if we were just to make their food more consistent, that would fix the issue. And then using a GLP-1 isn't going to fix the issue. They're going to have all these negative effects, and it's not going to fix the issue, which is what this client is facing. So by taking a GLP-1 and then also taking a phentermine product on top of that, they're just making everything in their system worse, 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 worse. It's not fixing the issue. Their health, emotional, physical, mental, everything is getting significantly worse, significantly quickly. This would be the dark side of GLP-1s, is whenever the issue that you're having that's causing you to be overweight isn't directly fixed by the GLP-1. And in this client's case, their issues are actually being made worse by the GLP-1. Most people would benefit from addressing inconsistent eating before taking a GLP-1 drug. Will most people take that advice? Unfortunately, probably not. But that is the best approach, is to address lifestyle factors first and then use a drug to maybe help bridge the gap as you're doing the lifestyle factor change. For most people, they just need to find out around how many calories they should be eating in a day and make that more normalized. Try to get rid of the super low days, get rid of the super high days. Just get it normalized within a couple hundred calories. So maybe we find out that if they eat between 1,600 and 2,000 calories a day, they're fine. So some days they were only eating 1,000. On weekends, maybe they're going up over 3,000. We just get rid of those extremes. And if they're eating around 1,600 to 2,000 calories, maybe that would be perfect. Now, it depends on muscle mass, activity level, individual differences. Maybe some people need more, maybe some people need less. So you have to find your number. How you can find that is go to bmrcalculator.net. You can actually just search that in Google. There's a website called calculator.net, and you want to use the BMR calculator. That's the basal metabolic rate calculator. And that will give you an idea of what your BMR is. And then it also gives you a chart based on your activity level, how much above the BMR you should be eating. So that's a general way to figure out your calories. Now, your protein should be at minimum 0.6 grams per pound of lean body weight. If you don't know what your lean body weight is, you can just go with 0.6 grams per pound of current body weight, and that's going to get you in the ballpark. That would be around what I would consider like a minimum-ish of protein, especially if you're lifting weights and you're physically active. I would argue then that you might need more, but that gives you, again, a ballpark to start in. So we can go to calculator.net, use the BMR calculator, find out your calories, and then your body weight times 0.6 gives you the grams of protein that you should be around. And then those are the only two things you need to track. It doesn't matter what your percentage of carbs and fats are. Really, nothing else matters much. Everything else is more so experiential impacts, not actual the significance of impact that calories and protein have on body composition and weight management. Everything else is more so experiential, meaning, if I eat this food, I feel better than if I eat this food, that kind of thing. Now, this is just a quick overview of an example of how GLP-1s misused can actually make things worse. If you have any questions about your nutrition, whether you need a GLP-1 or whether you don't, or if you're taking one and you're wondering now, holy crap, should I be taking this? Do I need this? Reach out. Our email is c3method@gmail.com, and the 3 is spelled out THREE. So it's CTHREE method.com. That's our website, or CTHREE method@gmail.com, and that's a straight email address. Just reach out, let me know that you're interested, and we'll set up a consultation. I'll chit chat with you a little bit, help you decide if what approach would be best. And then if you want some nutrition coaching, we do one-on-one nutrition coaching for $100 a month. There's no contract. You would just stay as long as you feel like the service is helpful. And it has the initial consultation, weekly communication, and then everything that would be personal to you, as in calories, protein, whether you would probably favor, fats or carbs, or what time of the day you should eat based on your schedule. I can help you do all of that stuff if you're interested. So again, you can reach out on the website, c3method.com, or our email address, which is c3method@gmail.com. Awesome. Okay, hopefully this was helpful. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people that know about it, the more people could be helped by it. If you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us in our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name C3 Method. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.